Welcome to another edition of Shelton City Council Looking Ahead with City Manager Jeff Niten. And Jeff, coming up Tuesday, we're going to talk about Homeless Task Force and its recommendations, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Tuesday night is a study session, and it's really an opportunity. It's different than a regular council meeting because it's really an opportunity for council to ask all the questions that they have of staff, and we can interact more than we would in a more formal regular council business meeting on the business agenda or the action agenda where they actually take votes. There are no actions taken at a study session. It's just really an opportunity for council and staff to interact and get to the meat of the issue, whatever it happens to be. And next Tuesday, it happens to focus on the homelessness issue that the community has been uh, looking for ways to address.
And the task force, can you tell us about the task force and the process that they used? Because it was an extensive process.
It was. We council had asked us the staff to form a task force and not an ongoing one, just one focused on making appropriate recommendations from the community to our city council on how we can address this issue. It was extensive. It went 6 meetings over. Each meeting was about 2 hours in total. And what we really wanted to make sure of is that we had people that were part of the task force that had a diverse set of perspectives. So we had people from the business community, particularly in downtown, with Mr. Dean Jewett was a part of that task force, along with other business owners. Holly Cahoon was one here in downtown. We also had representatives from public health and from the police department. Commissioner Sharon Trask was part of the task force, along with Mayor Inesco and Councilmember Gutierrez here from Shelton, and people in the nonprofit community that provide services to the homeless population, like Crossroads Housing and Community Lifeline, to name a few, Youth Connection, along with people from Mason General Hospital to make sure that we had all of the perspectives that we could gain so we could really develop recommendations, or the task force could really develop recommendations that fit our unique community and what we are looking at. The group, as I mentioned, met 6 times. We looked at everything from the Boise decision, which I'm sure everybody has heard a little bit about, and to funding, how we would pay for some of the recommendations, to grant opportunities from the state and the federal level on how we can address those things. And the committee or the task force developed a set of 7 recommendations that we will present to council next Tuesday. Some are very immediate and short term, and some are longer term and something that we need to work on.
Can you tell us some of those recommendations?
Sure. First is a mitigation site. So it's an area that is set aside for people to camp and eventually have actual shelter, along with services like lockers, storage lockers, so people can keep their belongings safe and they don't have to worry about them being stolen while they are interviewing for a job or those types of things. Um, that one is rather immediate, and it's also a necessary component of the Boise decision, because if you don't provide a place for people to go, you cannot criminalize homelessness, which is something that we've been faced with. Um, Other things include focus on affordable housing, the lack of housing in the community, and that's longer term. But focus on affordable housing. Another one was seeking how we can partner with a DCR, or a designated crisis responder, who under Washington law is the only person empowered to involuntarily commit someone who has a mental health crisis. So those types of issues, those are the recommendations that came out of that committee. We talked a little bit about them at the Spotlight Shelton event on October 11th, and we'll present in more detail to our city council next Tuesday on the 22nd.
The other item on the agenda is no sit, no lie.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain that? Because as it sits, it doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, it's a concept that several communities have used throughout Washington State to look at a specific area of a city and say between these hours, people cannot sit or lie on the sidewalk. So what we did, and this was not a recommendation from the Homelessness Task Force, but one of our council members asked us to take a look at this specifically. And what we did, we looked at communities that are representative approaches that many communities have used throughout the state. One is the city of Aberdeen. They have adopted an ordinance. Another is the city of Monroe. And the city of Spokane, and I can't remember the fourth one off the top of my head, but there are four. Everett was the third one, the city of Everett. So what those are focused on is sidewalks, no sitting or lying on the sidewalk. And then many of the all of the ordinances that we've looked at have exceptions for, people waiting for the bus, people waiting for other types of things, during a parade, for example, that kind of thing, those types of exceptions. But interestingly, none of the ordinances have focus on anything other really than sidewalks. I think, if I remember right, the city of Monroe is the one that's the most broad, that only covers public rights of way. So that would be streets, sidewalks, those types of things. But all the others were focused strictly on sidewalks, not parks, not anything else. And two of the ordinances, at least two of the most recent ones that we reviewed, focus on the provisions again of the Boise decision, which says that if no shelter space is available, then these ordinances don't apply. So that's what we'll present to council on that topic on next Tuesday night, and looking forward to their discussion.
So 6 o'clock Tuesday night, Shelton Civic Center in the courtroom in person. You can get on the Zoom meeting, or you can watch the city's live stream available on the city's YouTube channel. You just have to log into that. So thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. I appreciate it.